Here as part of Halifax SOS, I've got Mick Byrne and Garrod from Halifax. Thank you very much, guys.
Pleasure.
Etienne, so you both played between about 1980 to 1985. Mick, you had 40 appearances, is that right? 40 plus?
167, let's get it right.
Excuse me, right, well, that's not a very good start, is it? That's it. I see the internet, and now I'm going to put the toe in the water. It says 50 appearances for you, Graham, but that's it.
212 appearances and 11 substitute appearances. So I don't know why they didn't count them in the full amount.
So after that wonderful start, rather than me say anything, I'm going to ask you guys what positions you played rather than me tell you.
Well, I played centre and then ended up at standoff, and then ended up in my later career as loose forward, but only for a few games.
That's it, when the pace drops off a little bit.
That's it. That's it. You've got it. Absolutely.
And Mick?
I played on the wing my whole career. I didn't play the odd game at centre if Graham wasn't available, and Graham was my centre. We played on the right.
All right, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's it. And whereabouts are you both from?
I was originally born in Bradford. I started my career at Bradford Northern, and then I came to Halifax, met a young girl in Halifax, and moved to Queensbury, and then from Queensbury into Halifax, and I live in Hippo now.
All right.
Yeah. I was born in Birstall, and we moved when I was about 10. We moved to Bradford to Wyke, and I played rugby union at Cleckheaton, and that's where it was Jack Addy who was Maurice Bamford's right-hand man. He asked me to come up for a trial, and everything stemmed from that, really, and I've never regretted it.
Perfect. Well, that leads me nicely into the next question, which is, what do you think to Halifax as a town? I mean, I'm Halifax born and bred, and I love it, but it is what it is.
Compared to Bradford, be careful what I say here, but very nice, very, very sociable people. We really enjoyed ourselves when not just being at the club, but actually living in the town. Peace Hall is now extremely good. I think it's got a reputation, Halifax, hasn't it, that you can walk in the front door of one pub and come out the back door, and then you're in the front door of a second pub. And it seemed to suit our playing style at that particular time, that we could socialise reasonably well within the town.
That's it. I mean, go on, Mick.
Again, I'll compare Bradford and Halifax, and I think the population of Bradford's a bit more. And when I got to Halifax, and once I got to know everybody in the team, and then we went downtown, you always felt that it was a lot closer, almost like a big village or a bit, and everybody seemed to know everybody else. That's what I liked.
Oh, perfect. That's a nice place, nice way to be, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your first memories of playing for Halifax?
My first memory was in the first round of the Yorkshire Cup. It's when they played the first round and second round before the actual season started. It was under Maurice Bamford, so I knew Maurice from my Bradford Northern days. He was a second team coach. He came to Halifax. I came then at the start of the season with Mick Blacker and Jimmy Burtz, Derek Howard, and a nice, very nice club that really was in. They just lost to Cairwoods amateur side the season before. And they were in the process of rebuilding. So they had a director called Ronnie Dobson, who brought Maurice, and then Maurice started to build a side that he would hope then would start to go and progress through the league. So exciting times, really. Having played second team rugby at Bradford Northern, to get a chance to play first team rugby on a regular basis was great, just what I wanted.
Yeah, when I joined the club, again, it was a very similar time to Graham. Graham was actually there when I got there. And Maurice Bamford was first team coach and Jack Addy the second. And on my debut, we played away at Castleford. It was then called Weldon Road.
Right, yeah.
And And I stepped onto the field and they were just about to start the game again. It was quite late on in the second half. And there was a power cut and the floodlights went off. So we went back in the changing rooms for about 20 minutes. And I honestly can't, someone will be able to tell me, I can't remember if we actually played the rest of the game. But that was supposedly my debut.
That's the debut, absolutely. Certainly one to remember. That's it. And now, from the first time you played to what's the best memory you've got of playing for Halifax?
I think the championship season when we had a side which was well respected, I think, in that particular league. We were winning more games than we were losing. Chris Anderson was coach then. Him and David Brooke, who was the president, had obviously got pulled some very good Australians, one in particular, Joe Kilroy, and other Australians, and it helped galvanise the side together and gave us a platform really to move on. And of course that year we won the championship. The year after then Wembley, and won at Wembley. So from a playing perspective and a successful season, that was probably the best. Saying that, we had some very good players before the Australians arrived, and you know, we beat some good sides, some good quality Saints, Warrington, people like that. We Widnes, so we did pretty well, really.
That's it. And Mick, your best memory of playing for Halifax?
Mine's when Maurice Bamford was coach, and we actually got to the semi-final of the Challenge Cup, and we didn't have any big names playing for us. Maurice had brought together a team of lads who, like Graham, who were in the second team at Northern, and there were players that there were no stars, and we ended up getting to the semi-final of the Yorkshire Cup. We lost to Hull KR in the end, Roger Millward and his gang. But it's a lasting memory with me, and looking around at the crowd at Headingley, and the atmosphere in Halifax afterwards, and going around the pubs, and it was as if we'd won. It was fantastic.
That's it. As you say, there is certainly something for when there are no stars, but it's a team of lads that all play for each other. They're willing to play for each other.
Yeah.
Playing as a team is certainly something to be counted on.
Yes.
Yeah. Who was the joker? Who was cracking jokes in the changing rooms, on the pitch, getting me in the opponent's ribs, perhaps?
Terry Langton for me.
Yeah.
He was a character, and Jimmy. Yeah, there was. We had some good characters. We had some a lot of practical joking going on. Things that we can't really mention for a family audience, but there was lots of things that happened in training and in the changing rooms, and we had a good time, a good fun time. But you have to be on your wits, or have your wits around you all the time. Yeah,
you did. It was good. I remember we played away once. I think it was Whitehaven, and afterwards we were all travelling back, and we'd had a few beers, and we stopped for a meal, and there was a side salad with the meal, and Terry Langton said, "Oh, I love cucumber." Anyway, he made the mistake of getting up to go to the loo or the bar or whatever, and when he come back, there was a plate full of cucumber. But, you know, he never changed his facial expression, and he sat there and he ate the whole lot. And he had a big smile on his face. It was brilliant.
That's it. What was your favourite away day? Who was good to go and play against away?
I suppose the Cumbrian sides, because we often went the day before, so we all went out for a few beers, and and it ended up. It just meant you had a lot of beer before the game. It was good.
I think going into Lancashire, going to Cumbria, they were all tough, hard sides. But as Mick says, we had some good days out in places like Whitehaven and Barrow and at Workington, and we did stay overnight a couple of times, didn't we, Mick? And we had a good. It was a team bonding exercise, apparently.
Well, Sid, looking at that, it sounds like there was a fair bit of drinking going on, having a good time. Certainly not secondary to the rugby. Do you think that might be a challenge for some of today's players?
It's a different game now, isn't it? It's very professional. I mean, we were semi-professional. We played hard on the field and trained hard, but we also socialised as well, which was part of it, really, part of our game, part of the culture at that particular time. Nowadays, people are very focused on fitness and strength levels and different scenario, really. It's a full-time occupation for people now, whereas we were semi-professional and we wanted to enjoy it. But we did work hard on the field and we did play well together, and we did win more games than we lost. So that was always nothing like winning. You know, at the end of the day,
no,
it was
absolutely.
fantastic feeling, really, when you beat some of the first division sides at the time. It was really good.
So,
sorry, go on, Mick.
Sorry, I agree with Graham entirely there, because it was semi-professional and it was like a bit of extra money to spend on beer and whatever. Although we took it seriously, and we created a great team spirit and everything and worked together. We weren't full-time professionals, so we came together on a Tuesday and a Thursday and match day, and that was about it.
I suppose it's a similar way to the lads now, really, with the situation that we're in, them still being semi-professionals. Most of the lads are still working.
Yes.
You know, that's it. And you've got to balance the work life, family life, your home life with training and playing the games as well. Sometimes, do you think that might put us at a disadvantage with some of the other sides?
I think if you look at the development of the game, it certainly leaps on. There was a certain leap forward when clubs went at full-time professional. We had the opportunity at Halifax, so I did, at the end of the championship year when we won the championship. The players went full-time professional. I retired then at that time because it didn't suit.
Right.
I was too old, getting too slow, and so I retired at that particular time. But certainly, there was two things. One, the players that were already at the club became fitter, stronger, more focused, probably, and but it drew other players into the club as well, who had already got a full-time professional background, and they joined Halifax at that particular time, helped the club to move forward. So it was a sort of natural development, I suppose, for the sport, for everybody in the top league of the competition to be full-time professional.
Yeah. Again, I agree with that. And when the Australians came over, they were classed really as full-time because they didn't have other jobs. And it sort of evolved from that, and eventually full-time professionalism came into the game, didn't it?
Very much so. That potentially would make it very difficult for. I was going to say, do you think who would have done well from your era playing the modern game? How do you think you'd have got on?
Good question.
Great, very good question.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one to answer because some people, like you say, had very good jobs outside the game, and therefore they'd have found it difficult to become full-time professional players. Saying that, anybody who is just giving their full time to training, to a program of training, strength training, speed training, then you're going to be a better player. We all know that. If we go out for a run and we continually have runs, you get better, you get fitter, you get healthier, and it's a natural development of individuals to improve the game if they're concentrating just on that one particular element of the life. You know, it's would we have been better? I'm sure we would. I think the whole team would have been better. Saying that, the opportunity wasn't there for us until David Brooke took over and he was prepared to.
Might not have had as much fun either.
Well, no, I think that was it. I mean, we took it serious when we were on the field, but we did enjoy ourselves off the field. So maybe, yeah, you're right. We might.
And what about the other way? How do you think players from today would have got on when you guys were playing?
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to tell because, like nowadays, the players they're geared up full time. The diets are even worked out for them, and they've got set programs to work through. And when you're working as well, it's difficult to fit so much in. So it's hard to compare because they fit so much in through being full-time professionals.
Yeah,
I always think about Wigan when they were the first club to go completely full-time professional. And if you look on the record, I think they won the championship 8 years on the trot and the Challenge Cup. And it wasn't until other clubs like St Helens soon followed them started to go full-time professional, and it made such a difference. It really did.
With the current players, what do you think the biggest difference is in the gameplay between, not talking about individual players, but talking, do you think not contesting the scrums makes a difference? Is that something you'd maybe look at bringing back? Or the shoulder charge? I'm a big fan of the shoulder charge. I definitely think we should better.
I think certainly we had certain skills in the Great Britain game, and one was the hooking element. Yep. We seem to have certainly better hookers than the Australians, and it was a skill. And the prop forwards and the hooker worked as a unit together and to win the ball. That competition now seems to have dried up. Is it better? I'm not sure. But certainly, for me, we had some very good hookers at Halifax, didn't we, Mick? And
Dean Raystrick, he was good.
And we used to tap the ball against the head and score tries from that. And I think it was a good part, very competitive part of the game.
I always felt the Australians changed the game so the hookers weren't as prominent.
Yeah.
Simply because we were dominating it in the internationals, around, in certainly as hookers and what have you. And the game's changed so much. It's completely different.
It really is very different. You look at the wrestle and things now, it's all about how long you can hold them down in the tackle and that, and how long you can get away with it for. But you mentioned the international game. What are we missing? What could we bring back in order to beat the Australians? It's been such a long time.
I think we've lost a bit of flair, unfortunately, through this sort of development and people playing in zones. And I think some of the classy players that we had, very classy players, they're a bit more regimented now. The freedom to show some different skills and some different abilities doesn't seem to be quite as prominent now in the UK game as it was going back probably 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I agree with that, Graham, because you look at players like Danny Maguire and Gary Schofield. I always felt when they first came on the scene, there were individuals and they do things that probably a lot of coaches would cringe at because they might not always come off. But it added to the entertainment side of the game. And that's what's happened to the game now. I think that individualism has sort of been stifled a bit and taken away. And it's so well organised as a team of 13 players that there's no place for that individual flair anymore.
No, they certainly look to play to the percentages, or what's the risk of that working, or that's it. We'll do that for territory instead of risking it, as you say.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you still watch a lot of the modern game? Do you watch Super League or?
Yeah, certainly watch. Yeah, we certainly watch. Well, I watch Super League on the Thursday, Friday night, and then we got our passes this year to come to the Shea, and we haven't seen a game yet, have we? Unfortunately,
no.
It's a bit difficult this year, but I think Super League. To be fair, it is a bit like you were saying. It's a bit of a wrestle. It's who can open up the odd gap and be clinical and score a try. The sort of flair of individual people is becoming a little bit more limited, and it's more strength. Who's the strongest side? Who can break the middle of the field? Who can put the opposition on the back foot? Seems to be more prevalent now than it was going back a few years ago.
Absolutely. But so you would still watch Halifax when you get the chance, and then do you follow a particular side in Super League, or?
Not really.
Go on,
I don't particularly follow a side. I just like watching rugby. I think it's one of the best games, best sports. Certainly, from our point of view, mine and Mick's, we're best friends now. We met playing. We get involved now in the Ex-Players Association. Well, it's called the Players Association now, not the Ex-Players Association. We've both been chairman of that particular organisation. We go to the heritage meetings. We like the community. We like the people. We like the rugby league folk. They're honest people, and they appreciate a gritty game of rugby league. It's just nice people to be around, and long may that continue. And I think Halifax really have got a good following, very hardcore. Certainly when we played, Mick, we had people. Yeah. It used to be a religion for them. They used to. I can remember people telling me that they go to the pub at 12 o'clock. They come out 2:30, come to the game, go and get a drink in the tavern if it was open, then go to another pub at 7 o'clock when it opened, and then go home. And that was their sort of Sunday. It was home and away. It was pretty well focused around the rugby league of the rugby league team. And they still talk about it now. Some of the things that we did, some of the occasions, some of the games that we won, some of the games that we lost, and it's still very strong. The support is still very strong within the town.
Yeah, when we played, Graham, Halifax was a rugby town. You get football towns and what have you, but Halifax was all about rugby. And a lot of the pubs were run by ex-players like Foggy's, and Jack Scroby had several pubs, and I think Jack Wilkie as well, Colin Dixon. So a lot of the pubs you went into, they were all about rugby league, and it just seemed to flow through the town. And especially after training, when you went in town on a Thursday, it was just all about rugby, wasn't it, Graham?
It was, yeah.
You didn't pay for many beers then?
Mick didn't.
Graham didn't.
Willie had short arms and long pockets.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. You brought us onto a wonderful point, which I really think, especially at sort of this time with what's going on, is just the emphasis on the rugby league family, what it means to people, what it means to be part of it, what it means for you can go somewhere and enjoy a game with fans from different sides. There's no aggression. There's nothing like that, like there might be with other sports. And there's a wonderful sense of togetherness that I think at this time is something that we can really use. That's it.
I think you're right. I think it is a close. I mean, Halifax is a close community. I think the amateur teams for my son played for Siddle. They did pretty well. we seem to generate some good juniors who are doing well, not always at Halifax, but very often they come back to Halifax. And I think it's the whole structure that's for a small town, we seem to do pretty well, don't we? We seem to have got a good formula within. We just need a little bit more success for the senior side, but and that's just a bit more belief, possibly. I'm not too sure, but hopefully we can do that now. We've got a very good coach, and hopefully the team can.
He's a great coach, but he's also a Halifax lad. I think that's important.
Absolutely. What more can you ask for? So let's hope let's hope we can just move forward a little bit and get a bit of consistency there.
Yeah, similar to me, the junior sides and like the local amateur clubs like Ovenden and Illingworth and Siddle and Elland, they're the future of the game. They're not going to get the players from anywhere else, the amateur clubs. And I just hope that it seems to be going through quite a tough time, and I just hope that does improve, because that is the future of the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Mick, Graham, thank you very much for your time today. It's been lovely to have a chat with you both. Wish you could have met under better circumstances, and I'm sure hopefully one day we might share a beer.
Well, you never know. Yeah. We're up for that one.
We are.
Perfect. That's it. You guys look after yourselves, and I'll pass you back on to Halifax SOS for the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Right.
Thank you.
Cheers, Will.